My name is Lindsay Lee Hobson, and I work with forward-thinking organisations to elevate their emerging leaders and create the ultimate next generation of leadership. I'm also the founder of the Learning and Development Collective, where driven and passionate L&D professionals come together to exchange trending topics and innovative ideas and the best suppliers for their training calendars. And I am here with one such expert today. I'm so excited to be introducing you to the incredible Alice Haemmerle. She's the director of Instant Insight Academy, and she is the creator of the communication code. She's behind the scenes. In fact, Lululemon call her the magician. And just quietly, I'm not surprised because she's the incredible human that trains people like myself to be good at what we do. And you are getting to speak with her directly today. Alice, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsay. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you.
We are so excited to be having you join us for the Evolution. And for those who are watching this and don't know, the Evolution is a career development program specifically for L&D professionals. And we organise topics and experts just like Alice upon request by our members to help them and support them real time with what's happening in their leadership journeys. So without further ado, Alice, tell us a little bit about you and what it's like to be an Alice.
To be an Alice, I love that. What is it like to be an Alice? Well, welcome to Wonderland, we say. We call it going down the rabbit hole. Shall we take the red pill? I think what I'd like to say is I am at the core a teacher and an educator. So learning and development I'm so thrilled I get to speak to people in that realm because you are the educators of organizations and you ensure the education and development of your people is happening. That has been my entire journey of my life, minus a career as well as a professional singer, but I also was a teacher, a vocal teacher. And I got into what I'm doing to actually work with professional singers. Back in the day, before anyone knew what coaching was, I was introduced to NLP, and I did my NLP course when I was 34 years old, having moved to Australia 4 years earlier. As you can hear by my Australian accent, it does not sound Australian at all, but I am an Australian citizen, rock and roll. But I arrived here and singing family, and I got into NLP back in 2000 to work with my singers and help them with performance anxiety and performance enhancement. Little did I know that the singing would turn into a completely different career change. And I opened my first business called A Perfect Mind. And from there, I started working. My first big clients were Olympic athletes. So we were living in Manly in New South Wales and had a singing school, et cetera, with about 215 plus students. And one of my singers was the girlfriend of a really well-known beach volleyball player called Julian Prosser. He'd done 3 different Olympic games. I was totally into the personal development and transformation space. And Julian said, "Hey, could you help me?" And I was like, sure. Don't have a clue what beach volleyball is, but I thought, you know what? This would be good for me. I need to change a bit. Who am I as a singer? And I wanted to get more into the businesses and work with the leadership. But what are they going to say about an opera singer? So I thought, this is a very good segue. Athletes are very big in Australia. So Julian, I'll come down to the beach. And I remember being down there and watching him and Mark Williams prepare for the Athens Games. And I brought all the things I'd learned to do. And they won their national title that year. They came 4th in the Olympics. From then on, I think I worked with another 7 Olympic types of Olympians in all sorts of different fields. So the Olympians were a really great way of me getting completely out of my comfort zone. I'm a 5'2" little lady, and here I am working with all these incredibly tall athletes and powerful athletes. And that was a really great clear the screen, one would say, from the classical music, vocal performance, entertainment industry. From that, though, it led to my entire future of working with businesses. And then I began to work with companies. And then within companies, I was always working with leaders. Leaders are like professional athletes. They had to have a great team around them to perform. And I just kept upskilling myself. I didn't know what an EBIT was, didn't understand sales, got the book. So I had a library that was massive, and I immersed myself in those years. Simultaneously doing that, so that was my 10,000 plus hours of coaching that I got under my belt very intensely. But from that, then I really got into training. And I realized the coaching industry was a wonderful industry. It was an emerging industry. And I was NLP trainer for a very big coaching school, where you and I almost crossed paths in the late 2000s. And I was there at the beginning of all the digital marketing as well, all the Frank Kern, all the Ryan Dice, all of that. I was in all of that world. So at one point I didn't know what an email and website was. And now I'm like, so, I was reading Bach, and then all of a sudden I'm in this emerging world. Anyway, long story, been part of that whole journey. So big digital marketing, online, watching many people grow incredible businesses, watching my students over the years create incredible careers years, it is definitely the torch has been passed and passed and passed. So I really feel the orchard is very rich. And that's now 23 years.
Oh, wow.
And I have been working in this industry, and I guess I want to say it's been very thrilling to see the quality of coaching and training staying highly elevated, especially in Australia. It's quite strong.
Yeah.
That's good. So we're in the right place.
Absolutely.
We're in the right place. Yeah. Anyway, that's an overview. Maybe more of an overview than required, but there you go.
It's amazing. It's amazing to hear the way that coaching in Australia has unfolded as well. And just quietly, I'm very happy to hear that we are up to scratch, if not setting the bar for the rest of the world, because it is such a passion feast for L&D professionals. And there's a lot of talk in the learning and development world at the moment about leaders as coaches and coaches as leader. And that's something that you, as you highlighted, know a lot about, but it goes so much further beyond that, your area of expertise. So I'd love to know a little bit about the impact that your area of expertise has for learning and development professionals.
Well, I'm actually brought in by learning and development professionals to educate them on how to educate their people. So it's a bit like the master. I don't mean that with any ego whatsoever. It's just simply that I've been around the block a few times. And so, I want to make sure we really fine tune what is the learning development that people need. And we often need to have a different set of eyes on what we're doing. And I come into that level because I understand what's happening at the top level with the C-suite and the boards. And then I can come all the way down to the very fundamentals of how do you get the users to accept what they're learning and to ensure learning is happening versus information gathering. There is a very big difference between knowledge share and application.
Yes, we were just talking about this in the forum. It was a few sessions ago, knowledge transfer and what that means and how we can enhance it. So it's definitely a big topic. I think a topic always, but it's just come up very strongly recently, which is fantastic. And I get an absolute kick out of introducing our Evolution members to incredible experts like you. So tell us a little bit about the different ways you've impacted learning and development and how it's changed not only the way they go about their business, but perhaps the results in the company as well.
Great question. So I think one of the things is really learning how to learn and introducing that back into learning and development, adult education, and understanding how people need to apply the information the L&D team's bringing in, not just to knowledge, but application. It is important to get right back to that child that's in every human being and that their fear of getting it wrong, fear of failure, all the fears, right? How do you address that, acknowledge it, but then move through the application of really what is the skill set you need your people to be able to do? I think in most companies, we would say that most companies would have, not every company would have what are called their basic skills. Basic skills, they're scales they play every day. Well, what are the basic skills that you're looking for your organization to have? And are you sure that everyone knows those basic skills? And are they practicing those basic skills, such as how to communicate effectively, how to actively listen, how to ask quality questions, how to think strategically, how to creatively think, how to run a meeting, how to handle conflict, how to hire the right people for the organization so that you're attracting the talent. I have profiles I use, but profiles are extraordinary tools to be able to gauge the hire. But it's most important that before you do that, you have to actually know what does this seat on the bus that you're looking for someone to be? What are the characteristics? What are the values? What's the attitude of that person? And you need to hire on those things. Skill set, though, is the responsibility of the organization to make sure that skill set is really checked and developed and enhanced. Yeah. And I think that's missing a lot, is that skill set piece.
100%. Capability frameworks is one of those things that companies will often just be like, hey, we need to create a new one, or we need to hire this new thing, and we need a new capability framework with it. And it's the banging of our forum members' lives. Like L&D, it's very difficult trying to come up with that because you're guessing a lot of the time, but it sounds like that you're going to have so much value to be able to support Evolution members on just that alone, which is incredibly valuable. And I'm really curious to know, Alice, what is it about this area of expertise and what is it about what you do that makes you so passionate about it? How did you get here, ending up on the volleyball court on the beach one day?
I believe in lifelong learning at the core of my being, and not just learning the same thing. I have numerous hobbies of which I believe in the renaissance of all of us. We have the renaissance man-woman in us. I believe very strongly that we have an innate need to keep learning. Otherwise, we become decaying, dying, all those kind of words. We can, you become not so as useful in the future. So in that, at the core of that then is, if you know how to learn, you are good to go. If you don't know how to learn, Alvin Toffler, the 21st century, great mind. He said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those that cannot read and write, but those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we have to become learning machines, especially AI coming in. It's impressive and perhaps terrifying. But as long as we are aware of what its capacity is and we bring our creativity into that. So I would say from learning development, most people can get their education online in some way. So what makes the L&D valuable inside an organization, that I'm going to take the time to practice this capability, practice it. Where am I going to get the feedback that I'm doing it accurately? And where am I getting that feedback loop? Because in feedback is learning. Knowing has no feedback loop. Feedback is learning. And so it's the feedback loop that needs to be happening. And I don't see that as strongly as it could be. It's the apprenticeship technician, isn't it? Technician, apprenticeship, master. We need to get back to sitting down and doing it with people until we know they're actually doing it correctly, as opposed to assuming they can do their jobs. And it's getting back to the basics.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so valuable. So many companies have made the shift to hybrid and remote working scenarios. It's really tricky to be able to find a way to do that, and also roll out, especially for L&D, to roll out new training models when it was all potentially in-house before, and figuring out how to still achieve the objectives that they've never actually met before because they're working remotely from some place. So it's crazy what people are expected to do these days. But at the same time, that's why we have incredible people like you. I was saying to the Evolution members, we're so excited about meeting you, by the way. It's a secret squirrel business, introducing them to you and vice versa, because you are behind the scenes helping so many incredible organizations achieve some really incredible objectives. So give us a little sense of some of the key takeaways. Maybe it's something you've already said, which is amazing, something totally different that members of the Evolution will gain from joining you for your roundtable.
I think what we're going to be talking about is there's a conversation that Office L&D has to get the members or their people to be able to show up to the classes, show up to the courses, do whatever it might be. But there's a whole nother conversation that is the level up. And how do we get the buy-in of the directors, the C-suite? How do we make them see the value of ensuring that the education is valued, so that you have your budgets not shrunk, but increased year after year, that you make their job, the results of the organization, a long-term vision? So I'm going to be talking about negotiating your way up as opposed to down, because I don't think you negotiate down. I think you influence down, you negotiate up. In this regard is what I'm going to be talking about.
Oh, they're going to absolutely love that, because it's such a huge topic for them as well. How can you get people, or get the people above you, on the same wavelength as you and understand and decode what they're asking for? And then if they're asking for something that perhaps doesn't actually make any sense, what you can do about that. So I am so excited for your roundtable, Alice. Alice, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. And learning development professionals who are watching this, if you're not yet a member of the Evolution, make sure you follow the prompt around or message me to get in on the action, because we are going to be having Alice join us very soon. Alice, thank you once again. Very excited for your roundtable, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, and look forward to meeting all of you there.